Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Another step up for Ben Whittaker, but the same result. Another first round knockout by the surgeon, and it was surgical today. It was clinical, it was precision, and it was power showed by Ben Whittaker. Like 2.5 minutes that fight went for, and it was Ben Whittaker showboating, picking the guy off, and ultimately landing a beautiful left hook to the liver, followed up by a right hand straight up. For me, it landed above the ear. I know there were some complaints by their corner of Brian Suarez that it was behind the head. For me, it was above the ear. Brian Suarez was already turning that way because of the punch he was throwing, which was a left hand. So for me, I had no problem at all with the fact that that punch landed there. I thought it was a fair knockout. And it was set up perfectly. Like I said, a beautiful left hook to the liver, followed up by a right hook to the head, knocks him out clean. First round knockout for Ben Whittaker. And look, I guess the biggest talking point is Brian Suarez isn't a step up. I know that's what they say. He was a step up from Benjamin Gavazi. Benjamin Gavazi was a step up from Liam Cameron and whatever else have you. For me, he was always going to destroy Benjamin Gavazi. He was always going to destroy Brian Suarez. I know Brian Suarez had a good fight against Lyndon Arthur and so on and so else, but I said before the fight, Ben Whittaker will run through this guy, and that's what he did. He destroyed the guy, and we're now looking at Ben Whittaker at 11 wins, 1 draw. Sorry, I'm not going to really talk about the fight because there's not much to talk about. I basically covered it all. It was Ben Whittaker went out there, was picking him apart, showboating a little bit. End of the first round, lands a great left hook, lands a great right hook straight after it, knocks him out. That's the fight. Honestly, that's all I can talk about. So it's more about talking about what's next for Ben Whittaker and what this fight was because, like I said, it was supposed to be a step up. It really wasn't. Brian Suarez offered very little today and got knocked out in the first round. So it's sort of what's next for Ben Whittaker. He sits at now, 11 wins, 1 draw, that draw being against Liam Cameron. But after the fight, Eddie Hearn said that the plan for Ben Whittaker is a June 27th date in America, which is the Xander Zayas versus Jerome Boots Ennis card. He says that'll be his US debut. I already knew that's what they were planning, which gives us, 2 months to that date. So pretty much that's plenty of time for them to pick as hard of an opponent as you want. There's no excuses of like, oh, it's only a few weeks away, it'll have to be an easier opponent. He didn't get hurt today. He's still in camp. You get straight back into camp. You get ready for that fight. You can basically have your pick of anyone, no matter skill or ability or talent or resume or whatever else have you. So there is no excuses for me for Ben Whittaker to take another shonky opponent because no offense to Brian Suarez, no offense to Benjamin Gavazi, they aren't the level. And I already knew that, and you already knew that, and we know that, all right? Eddie Hearn can say what he wants. That's Eddie Hearn's job, is to promote Ben Whittaker and build him up no matter what he's taking on. But we can all see from the outside what level these guys are and what level Ben Whittaker is. This is not really a reflection of how poor Brian Suarez or Benjamin Gavazi are. They're probably both good fighters, but this is more about just how good Ben Whittaker is, where he should be and where he actually is right now. And for me, he should be leaps and bounds above where he is now. His plan is a June 27th date in America. That's followed by a fight back in Birmingham later this year, and he wants that to be against either a big domestic name or an international title eliminator. Now, what worries me about him saying a big domestic name for Birmingham kind of rules out a big domestic name for the American debut. Now, obviously, I think he'll get an American name. If I was to say a name that I reckon they're going to give him, I would guess they're going to give him Khalil Ko. That would be the name that I'm guessing we're going to see Ben Whittaker in against. I think he destroys Khalil Ko, but you would argue that Khalil Ko is a step up from Brian Suarez. Brian Suarez was a step up from Benjamin Gavazi. So you can see how that's going to work. I thought Khalil Ko was terrible in his last fight against Jesse Hart. But that's the plan for America. Them saying that it's not going to be them saying that it's going to be a huge domestic fight later in the year sort of rules out any of those big domestic names that you could name now, like Lyndon Arthur, Zach Parker, Ezra Taylor, Willie Hutchinson. Any of these names sort of get ruled out for the next fight, which is a shame because I want to see him in there with those names. That's the level that he's on. I think he's much above the level of Khalil Ko. So hopefully we see him against a good American in June, followed by one of those names that I just said in the later stages of the year. The other names that I sort of think of that, you could probably chuck him in there with if they're not English is someone like, Connor Wallace, Jerome Pamplone, Imam Kartiev. There's plenty of names around. I see people saying David Morrell. For me, I'm stuck between he's not ready for David Morrell and he needs to be fighting better fighters than what he has been done. I think there is that sort of gap fill in the middle. But you say that, I just said Imam Kartiev. Imam Kartiev went to a very, very close decision with David Morrell. So maybe he is at that level. There's only one way to find out. It does sound as though none of those names, I'm talking Bivens, Peterbievs, Morells, any of these names are like Benavides, whoever's in that sort of group of people, we're not going to see any of those names till next year. But I would still like to see an Anthony Yard in there with Ben Whittaker. I think there's plenty of names around in the light heavyweight division, and most of them are English, which is a benefit as well. So by this end of this year, I expect to see him in there with one of those names. Some people won't rate Ezra Taylor. Some of them won't rate Lyndon Arthur. Some of them won't rate Zach Parker. I feel like, there's a few names there that are that sort of in between your Dimitri Bivens and your Benjamin Gavazis, that middle ground, and that's where I want to see Ben Whittaker. Right? I don't expect him to just jump in there with those big guys. He's still young, although 27, 28 years of age. In terms of professional experience, he is still young, so you don't have to rush the guy, but you get him those 2 medium fights this year, and that sets him up for the mega fights next year. And I'm more than happy with that. I don't want to see another Brian Suarez. I don't want to see another Ben Gavazi. I don't want to see another Liam Cameron. He is far better than these names, and he showed it. He showed it again today. He absolutely obliterated the guy who was in there today, and he almost took the head off Benjamin Gavazi. So he's a world-class fighter, in my opinion. He just hasn't fought world-class opponents yet, and that's what's next for him. Today's performance was excellent. This is only a short video. There's not a lot to talk about. We sort of already knew everything we needed to know before the fight, and after the fight, he's still at that same stage where we're all calling for him to fight the big names, and he's still fighting people that we don't really care about in Brian Suarez and Benjamin Gavazi. So this really falls down onto Eddie Hearn. I'm excited to see who's going to face in June. That is at the Barclays Center in New York, so a big stage, a big platform. I want to see Ben Whittaker in there with at least a good test, all right? I know it's sometimes hard. You see it with Moses Atauma. It is hard sometimes to get really good fighters rounds. You're either fighting tin cans or you're fighting world-class opponents. You want that middle ground, and I think light heavyweight right now offers that middle ground. I've named a heap of opponents in this video. So, guys, let me know who you guys think he should verse, what you thought of today's performance, and who do you actually think he is going to verse? Like I said, I expect June 27th, he's going to be fighting someone like Khalil Ko. Let me know in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm out of you guys. See ya.